Abaddon arrived inside the ashen wastes. The sky is off-colored and sickly and pale. The air is thin and yet so heavy. Every breath taken felt like it would catch one's throat at any moment. And as far as the eye could see, there was only wastes of ashes, almost like a desert like dunes, filled with all of these toppling towers, buried deep beneath them. Who knows how far they went? Who knows how deep this pile of ashes went? Except something far off in the distance. A massive superstructure city. Far, far off in the distance, unsure of what it was at the moment. Perhaps it was illusion or a mirage, but it was at least something. Abaddon focused their eyes to make able to see some sort of tower in the center, at least with some light coming out of it. So perhaps it wasn't truly fully a mirage. Unsure whether or not they were heading back into the place where they'd want to go, the sinner didn't really have much choice. There was nothing much else in this entire place. So they slowly began to take this long march towards this new location. All the while that constantly eclipsed black sun in the sky was bearing down upon them. It was soul draining. It felt like it was eating him alive slowly from the inside out. And looking at it was just too much. They tried to ignore it and keep walking. Step by step, seconds turned into minutes, and minutes turned into hours. Hours felt like it almost turned into days. As Abaddon continued walking through the wastes, seeing nothing but this ruin and quietness around them. Unnerving was an understatement, if any, as a lack of any form of content began to make Abaddon wonder if he had stumbled into the edge of reality as a whole. How could a place like this possibly exist? An entire, seemingly endless world outside of the one they already knew, beyond heaven and hell, already sentenced to this empty life of just death. It was borderline maddening, but with each attempt to unravel his mind was a shattering mess. One thing continued to come into Abaddon's mind and remind him why he was here, why he had chosen to come to this place. Salexi was there, in his thoughts, laughing as he struggles, laughing and taunting him for his lack of understanding. That Goetian diva was mocking them, making fun of the madness they were going through in their mind, as it infuriated Abaddon. Looking up towards that black sun, Abaddon scowled in protest, feeling their icy blood boil inside. And they themselves think that Salexi is watching them through that black sun, because every time they look at it, they feel just a massive presence pressed down upon them. But they do not yet realize that Salexi is not looking at them through that sun. But something else definitely was. To what it was, they don't know, and perhaps they never will. But all that mattered to them is getting back at Salexi, getting to this castle of theirs. But would that mean that Abaddon had to do anything at this point to finish off Salexi? The more he thought about it, the less Abaddon began to consider that this is his end goal. What was changing inside of his mind, though? What is this feeling that he's having? Is it Salexi's tempting aura? Or is it something darker? Something from that black sun that's seeping into their mind and body, almost like a cold embrace, an end to their own life. But that mattered not. He shook his head and kept going. Before he could begin to ponder any more of these new thoughts, Their silent walk was finally interrupted by the surprise of something pushing out in front of them in the ashes, rising up in front of them. This something, or someone, however, apparently was a zombie-like creature, standing a few head shoulders taller than Abaddon, a hulking, undead, groaning creature. Upon seeing this frost demon in front of them with their one remaining eye, and slowly shambled towards Abaddon. At least the silence was finally over. Abaddon's thoughts could finally become more clear with good old-fashioned violence, as they at least have something to break the monotony of the silence of this realm, and that black sun that's staring down on them. Wasting no time, Abaddon pulled out their knife and run towards the creature, to swing at it to close the distance. It stabs with effortless ease into the rib cage, or at least what was left of it, feeling the blade sink in, but, of course, as they expected, to no avail. It felt no pain, and it seemingly was just ignoring it as if nothing happened. The creature grabbed onto Abaddon's arm, and since it had no jaw, it rose up its head to bring down its upper teeth down upon Abaddon like a crushing weight with little daggers for teeth, rotten and corroded, that is, but ready to bite his flesh and consume him. The poor thing, it didn't know why you'd ever even grab a frost demon. Abaddon's body then, from their fingertips and their forearms and throughout the rest of the body, becomes so frigidly cold and icy, so much so that a literal mist kind of cakes off of their body, almost like steam, but it is an aura of ice that is so cold that it is literally down to negative 44 degrees Fahrenheit. So cold that if it so much as even touched a body of water, the whole thing would freeze instantly. The zombie then, of course, too, began to freeze throughout their whole body, or at least what was left of their flesh, and as they do, they can hear the crackling sounds of ice beginning to form both within and without their body as a slight little layer of frost begins to cake them. Abaddon then lifts one hand up from the one that wasn't being grabbed, does a slight little tap on the zombie's head, and then the zombie shatters into a million pieces of ice. He of course looks down, finds himself kind of in a lull. It was fun destroying the zombie so quickly, but that was awfully boring. It was over quite quick, and he still has so long to go until he makes it to the castle. He continues to start walking towards the destination, bored once again, until they stop and they hear a little bit more rumbling. This time in their path, there were even more zombies, slowly beginning to rise from the ground, roots caking their body, literal flowers growing off their back. They all seem to be the same theme of rot, decayed over thousands of years. And they see this horde in front of them, and then they crack their knuckles, thinking that at least the destination to where they're going won't be entirely boring. He would have to hold back just a little bit, just to make sure he can get at least some entertainment out of these zombies. But he also has to put just enough effort in to make sure none of them bite him, or at least more legitimately bite him, and then turn him into one of those things. How long will this take him? Days? Months? Years to get to that castle? He didn't know, but at least he had entertainment on the way.